Okay, hello. I'm actually re-recording this video because the lighting in the previous video was ass, but if you see clips like mixed into this where I'm sitting somewhere else, it's from the previous video that I thought was important to mention and I forgot to mention in this video. But yeah, new spot unlocked. Like, girl, what the fuck? I've never sat over here and it's so pretty. Like, girl. And yes, I'm gatekeeping. Unless you know me in real life, then maybe I'll put you on to where I'm at, but I will be gatekeeping where I'm at. In this video, I'm going to be talking about something that's very important to me, very dear to my heart, and that I'm very grateful that I've gotten the opportunity to do a lot of different kinds of research about through my academic endeavors and through my studies. But may this video reach whoever this message was intended to reach. May you listen to this with an open mind, with an open heart, and take what resonates and leave what does not. In this video, I'm going to be talking about reclaiming ancestral ties and reclaiming identity to those of us who are Indigenous people, who do have Indigenous ancestry. But a lot of what I'm going to talk about in this video can apply to many of us, especially to those of us who have background and ancestry within colonized cultures. And I wanted to briefly mention, before I get into this, something that I forgot to mention in the previous video. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to say that I know what it's like to experience a close related or family friend, family member's death. That is not what I was trying to say. And I got a little nervous about that. Damn, these bitches just got so much to say today. And you know what? Good for them. Shit, I have a lot to say as well. But yeah, I didn't want anybody to like misinterpret what I had to say in that video. Even though I received so much love on that video, thank you to everybody who reached out to me and spoke to me about that, because that was very refreshing. It was very nice to hear from y'all. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I have so much to learn from people who have experienced that in their life, and I'm so open to having dialogue about those kinds of conversations, about those kinds of situations, and how you navigated it through your life, because there is so much understanding that can be acquired through an experience like that. But yeah. So I'm going to speak on my experience first. I am a Mexican American. I grew up in the United States. I was born here, and my parents are from Central Mexico, and they immigrated here from Central Mexico. I grew up speaking a little Spanish. It has gotten better through academic tutoring and through my different studies, but my relationship to my culture only goes as far as that, or at least previously has only gone that far, where I only really identified with being Mexican and I didn't really know anything else about my history, about my lineage, and about different ancestral stories that pertain to different Mexican identities. And what I mean by that is that many of us, not all of us, not all of us, but many of us do have Indigenous ancestry, and many of us do have that story written within our DNA. But it has been something that many of us have become estranged to because of colonial conditioning and white supremacy and whitewashing and religious imposition. And I think the religion piece is a very important part to that story, because so many of us, as many of us in Latin America, many of us grew up Catholic, many of us have subscribed to the Catholicism or still do, and that's a big part of the culture. However, it wasn't always a part of that, of our narrative, of our story. And to me, it goes so much, our spirituality goes so much deeper than that. But many of us have avoided looking at that story, or have been told to not look at that story because it was wrong, because it was demonic, because it was bad. And that is something that I feel has been a huge disservice and has remained a huge wound within the Latino community. How estranged we are from many parts of our ancestry and many parts of our identity that make this culture, our culture, so incredibly rich. And like I said previously, this can apply to many different cultures, not just cultures within Latin America. This can apply to many different colonized regions of the world. Damn, it's so beautiful outside. Fuck. I wasn't expecting the sun to come out today, so I'm very happy. Very pleasantly surprised. Historically, religion has always been used as a device for separation, as a device to say one person is better than another, that one person has the truth above the other, and that one person knows more than another. And whenever you really study religion, whenever you really look at different Abrahamic religion specifically, or even the different sects of Christianity, why is there so many different sects of Christianity? There's like a million of them, and all of them like kind of get at the same story. Like, why are you trying to separate them? It's because of historical power dynamics and the games that people were trying to play in each other's face to say that they were right, even though it's just so fucking weird. But anyways, whenever you look at different religious texts, whenever you look at Abrahamic religions, a lot of them have similar messages and very similar stories. And there's so much wisdom that can be found within these stories. But unfortunately, a lot of these texts, a lot of these sacred texts have been rewritten and bastardized by people who wanted to have power, who wanted to impose power on other people, and who wanted to rule over other people. And this is why we see people like Donald Trump like claiming that the United States is a Christian nation whenever he isn't even Christian. At least I don't think he is. In the past he wasn't. But it's really just a ploy of power and a ploy of trying to get people unified under one ideology, under one truth, when there are many truths that can be held within this human experience. Many different things can be true at once. And I'm not saying that religion is bad and that religion is wrong. There are so many truths, so much wisdom that can be found, so much esoteric wisdom that can be found in these texts. However, the way that the culture has rewritten and used it to inform how society is structured has served to disempower many of us from our position as creators, from our truth and the wisdom that is held within our bodies and within our being. It has just really conditioned us to project that the Savior is outside of us, that what we seek is outside of us. Ooh, and that can also be tied to capitalism as well, but I'm not going to go on a tangent about that. But through the imposition of religion, the white man became God. The white man. And this is why we see so much racism within the culture, within Latin America. This is why you see it so normalized to be like, oh, look at his beautiful blue eyes. Look at his beautiful white skin, his white, like, or whenever narratives like I married a person of lighter skin and had kids with them to mejorar la raza, or to make the race better. That's why we see those kinds of dynamics being very normalized within the culture, when it's literally racism. It's literally racism and the remnants of colonial conditioning that are still permeate our minds without us even really thinking about it. And to some people, they may be like, Giselle, like, stop, it's not that deep. When it really is. When it really is. There are many things where it's like, yeah, it's not that deep. But this kind of shit, it is that deep. Because whenever a culture is told, the train is here again. Let me take a sip of my water. Okay. Whenever a culture is told that their ideologies are primitive, barbaric, and people will come in with guns, with diseases, wipe out their entire communities, and impose a new ideology above the one that was already pre-existing, with all of that devastation that was brought through colonial history, through indigenous rape, through genocide, whenever all of that terror was inflicted upon the community, what do you think that they're going to do? They're going to submit to the ideology that is being imposed onto them and carry it as truth, even though, and completely forget about what they knew before. And it has nothing to do with truth. It has nothing to do with truth. It has everything to do with power and the love that these people had for power over other people. And this is why you see figures like La Virgen de Guadalupe within Latin American culture and as a symbol of Catholicism, when in reality she is a combination of Mother Mary and the indigenous deity Tonatzin. I believe it's Tonatzin. I could be wrong about that, but there are so many examples of that religious syncretism within the culture where these figures and these deities were created as a means of survival, as a means of preserving the previous ideology whenever a new one was being imposed on them, and whenever they were told that they had to follow that new ideology, or else they would be murdered, or else they would be raped, or else they would be God knows what. God knows what they would do to them. And it really makes me very sad how these legacies of violence are very, very commonly ignored whenever you want to look at history. And it's something that I'm not willing to overlook anymore. It's not something that I'm willing to stay quiet about anymore, because it's something that has impacted every single one of us. Every single one of us, whether you're white or brown or whatever, it has impacted every single one of us. And if we choose to keep ignoring this history, we will never learn from our past mistakes. This is how the white man became God. We disempowered ourselves because these people came into our land saying that they knew more than us, saying that they were better than us. And then they proved themselves right by murdering the entire populations or forcing them into submission through violence. And yeah, this is how things like paganism and how brujeria, hoodoo, santeria, witchcraft, and all of those kinds of things became demonized. And I'm not saying that I practice any of those things. With some of the things that I do practice, they're like, oh, that's a little witchy, Giselle. But I wouldn't really claim any of these ideologies or any of these practices. But these, specifically paganism. Let's talk about paganism, because paganism is an umbrella term for a lot of animistic ideologies. We'll put that right there. But paganism, what it really is, it isn't anything about demonism, it isn't anything about witchcraft, it isn't really anything bad per se. But what it does do, it honors the wisdom that is within every single living, breathing thing. It recognizes the fact that God exists within every single one of us, within every single being. It exists in that spider that is walking on the floor right over there. It is living and breathing within the birds that are singing around me. It's within the trees that are surrounding me. It's in the running stream behind me. It's in everything, and it's in you too. But whenever we put that God, that deity outside of ourselves, whenever we put it in a man, it disempowers us. It takes us away from our own autonomy and from the own wisdom that we carry, that every single one of us carries within us if we become quiet enough to listen to it. There's so much power held within ancestral knowledge, and speaking from an indigenous perspective, you see how similar so many indigenous traditions are all over the world, from cultures that had no connection with each other. Whenever you study this shit, there are so many synchronicities. There are so many connections that can be made from communities that had nothing to do with each other. And isn't that kind of weird? Like, isn't that kind of weird to you? Like, there must be something going on there if all of these people were coming to the same conclusions all over the world and had no contact with each other. You get things like traditional medicine. You get things like honoring the seasons. You get things like shit, I don't even fucking know. Like natural healing, like curanderia. You get so many different things, and whenever you really look at it, whenever you give yourself the opportunity to explore something outside of what you told was true since you were a little child, whenever you give yourself the opportunity to think that maybe there is something outside of this, that maybe there is wisdom outside of what I was told was the only truth, you open up the door for so much expansion, for so much knowledge, and for a whole new reality to present itself to you. It's so expansive to allow yourself to look beyond the veil, to look beyond what we were told was the only and right truth. It just opens up the doors to so much beautiful information that we would have never had the access to if it weren't for our curiosity. Many things can be true at once. There is so much wisdom that can be found within religion. There's so much solace that can be found within that kind of spirituality. But there's also so much truth that is yet to be explored whenever you close yourself off to only subscribing to one thing. And whenever you do give yourself the chance to explore something new, something that may be out of your comfort zone, something that you may have been told was wrong in the past, you can potentially open up something that you will never be able to look back from. I see how so many of us have put ourselves into a box for the sake of fitting in and for the sake of being accepted by the communities that raised us and by the society that raised us. But by you putting yourself into a box, you lose a very important fragment of your identity. You lose the opportunity for yourself to create an identity for yourself that is more aligned with your truth and more aligned with who you are meant to be in this incarnation. And this identity loss thing can also be seen within how homophobia is something that is so normalized in Latino cultures and within many communities of color, when historically that was not the case. When, for example, whenever you study many indigenous communities all over Latin America, way before Christopher Columbus even came to the Americas, there is so much evidence of people living with gender identities that fit outside of the norm, fit outside of what we call female and male. And also many examples of queer relationship existing before any of this was even imposed onto us. Many people will go on to say, or many people will have homophobic rhetoric with will have homophobic rhetoric with the justification that this is something that's American, this is something that is imposed to us by the West. When, bitch, you impose that ideology onto yourself through colonial through colonial brainwashing. Because if anything, you not knowing the history about this is just proof that the white man won. That the white man has already permeated our mind, that we think that it's true that these identities that estrange from the norm are wrong and that they shouldn't exist. I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of going on a tangent. I don't really know if any of this I hope I covered everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. I literally took notes because I didn't want to forget anything. But yeah, give yourself the opportunity to explore something new. Give yourself the opportunity and the gift to look at your ancestry, look at what was happening before people imposed their ideology onto you, and just traverse with an open mind, because truly having an open mind about these kinds of things is so incredibly important, and it's so liberating. It's so liberating to learn about these things and how this wisdom how this wisdom is timeless, how interconnected we are with everything and with our ancestry. And whenever you give yourself the space to explore that, you open up the door to so many new possibilities. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Thank you for listening if you got this far. Much love to every single one of you. Thank you for watching. Pussy clap.